Welcome to the Adulting Podcast. I'm Zack Peter, a naturally platinum blonde podcaster, author, and sassy self-improvement addict spewing all those burning questions you're too afraid to ask.
And I'm Abigail Fraher, an unfiltered boss babe, daylighting as a lifestyle guru, stirring the pot on social issues. We're here to help you look cute,
Live well,
work hard,
and stay woke.
Together,
let's conquer adulting. Welcome back to Adulting, everybody. I'm Zack Peter.
And I'm Abigail Fraher.
How you doing? I love the little top bun you got going on today.
You know, it's one of those like second day after washing it, you can still manage to have it down. It doesn't all have to be up yet.
I love it.
We're working with it, yes.
I'm trying to embrace the fall season, even though it's Los Angeles and it's still like 75 and it's not really fall weather. I'm I'm pretending that it's almost Christmas time.
I saw you have your fluffy pillow. I was like, that's very, that's very holiday-esque. It's winter vibes.
I have a green pullover sweater. I tried to decorate my apartment, but I got like the glitter, I hate glitter. And then I got the glitter decoration thingies because they look very festive. And then I have glitter all over my damn apartment.
Glitter everywhere. Yes. Yes.
Don't do the glitter, guys. Just don't do it.
Don't do it.
Are you excited for today's topic?
I am so excited. I feel like it's so relevant. And
I have so many questions.
For not knowing as much as you do about like supplements and things like that, I have like this huge fear of like getting cancer. And I don't know why, but I think it's just because everybody gets it.
Yeah.
So I think it's one of those things that I'm always like, oh my God, is there something wrong? Like maybe I don't know why. And like WebMD always takes you down this like rabbit hole of like, it's cancer. So I just feel like knowing what to implement and what not to do, after last week's episode, I've really taken that and like processed it and I'm living by it. So I feel like this is just going to keep adding on to ending 2020 on a high note.
I know. Well, I also kind of feel like at this point, like cancer's like herpes, like everybody has it now. It's not a nice thing to say.
Hey now.
But I feel like now what I love is now we have so many more resources and books that actually, help us empower ourselves and take control of our body and our health. And, that's why I'm glad to have today's guest on. He's an internationally renowned Harvard-trained medical doctor and researcher. His TED Talk, Can We Eat to Starve Cancer, has trended like a Kardashian scandal, garnering more than 11 million views online, which is why we're so excited to welcome author of Eat to Beat Disease, the new science on how your body can heal itself. Please welcome Dr. William Li.
Well, thank you, Zack and Abigail. It's a pleasure to be on to talk about an important topic that touches all of us, which is what we eat and how we feel.
Absolutely. It is Dr. Li, right? Not Dr. Lai? Dr. Li? Li. Okay. Just wanted to confirm because I've botched people's names on this show so many times. I always like to confirm.
And like everyone's always so polite. So it's like they don't say anything. And then you find out afterwards and you're like, oh my God, I just did that the whole episode.
Yeah, you put your foot in your mouth.
We've got it.
So we like to kick off every episode with our icebreakers. It's a fun segment that we call Espresso Yourself. Are you ready to espresso yourself, Dr. Li?
Absolutely. Actually, I love espresso.
Oh, perfect. Me too. I've got my coffee here ready, So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the sentence.
I got mine too.
You have yours too? Is coffee okay?
I got mine too.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a sentence and we're going to have you finish it for me. So my first one is I can't start my day without.
My espresso.
Perfect. There we go. Done. I'm like making a mental list of things that I can have. Everything you say you have, I'm like, cool, it's good to eat. The next one is a little fun. It's I feel sexiest when.
I am out in the sunshine.
Yes. And I feel like we haven't had much of that. How's Boston? But it's been really overcast in New York.
It's it's cool and crisp and sometimes overcast. We get a little bit of sun, but I really love it when you get that nice sunshine coming on you. Zack, you probably get that all the time.
Not
like, your body like feels
as
it.
The sun is just on me right now.
It's just another day for you.
Another day in paradise. The next one is when I work out or go to the gym, I.
Make sure I break into a sweat.
Perfect. So, and what is
Healthy
that? Like, is
detox.
there a certain time, like limit that you have to hit, like doing a sweating, or is it
No,
just as long as you hit that sweat?
I like to make sure that I'm getting serious cardio for 20 to 30
Okay.
minutes.
Okay.
Oh, I love
And then
cardio.
the last, I know Zach loves cardio. And the last one is I feel most like a boss when I.
When I'm kind to people, actually, because I think that, people, you get to get everybody to work together, and you're actually more in touch with and able to achieve what you want to do when you're nice to people.
Absolutely. I feel like when you are nice to people, that kind of trickles throughout the other members or team, and
Mhm.
then you're able to like be so much more productive. And I feel like we often had this mindset of like a boss has to be like stern and aggressive, and you have to be afraid of the boss. And like we're
Right.
realizing that like those barriers can be broken down, and like it's better to be like compassionate and empathetic, and then people respond so much more to you.
Exactly.
I love that. I feel like I know you already. So now Zach and I'm not sure if you got our list, but we have a plethora of questions for you. So I guess we're going to try and tackle as many as
Yeah,
possible.
bring them on.
Amazing. So one of my and Zach actually we had a similar question. I feel like it's very interesting. Zach and I word things differently, but the topics are always fairly similar. What are three foods that you would be like you have to eat these? Like if you could make everyone across the world have these three foods, what would they be
Well,
and
the
why?
first thing I tell you is that in my book Eat to Beat Disease, I wrote about 200 foods, and so the joy of healthy eating is about abundance and about
Okay,
variety. That said, I can certainly come up with three that I think are
let's do
really
it.
great for you because they're kind of universal.
Okay.
One of them is kind of a crowd pleaser. It's dark chocolate. It turns
Mm.
out that cacao contains natural polyphenols and flavonols. This is sort of Mother Nature's medicine cabinet that actually does so many things. It protects your circulation. It helps to regenerate you from the inside out. Actually, dark chocolate stimulates our own body stem cells to regenerate ourselves and our organs. It also actually helps to lower our blood pressure and do all these other great things for our bodies. So that's number one. Number two is actually green tea, although it can also be black tea.
Okay.
We know all these great things about green tea and black tea. In addition to lowering your blood pressure, helping you with blood cholesterol, it actually helps to starve cancers that might be growing in your body by cutting off their blood supply. So who would want that? My great
Right.
uncle lived to 104, and he was completely intact
Wow.
to the end of his life. And his secret, he told me, is that he lived at the base of a tea mountain, and every day he went up in the morning and hiked up. So aerobic exercise, sat
Right.
down, and he sipped like 4 to 6 cups of green tea a day. So it's inspirational. Oh, three.
Wow.
Let me come
Yeah.
up with three. Uh, Tree nuts. So pine nuts, walnuts, cashews, pecans, almonds. It's a big family. And I'll tell you what they have. Not only do they have healthy fats like the omega-3 fatty acids, but the fiber in the nut actually feeds our gut bacteria. So you heard about gut health and the microbiome. Trillions of bacteria in our gut. What we don't eat, what we don't absorb, what we don't digest, actually goes to feed our gut bacteria. So it's sort of like our own
Oh.
pets in our gut. Those bacteria take the fiber from nuts and they metabolize the fiber from nuts, and they release all these little things called short chain fatty acids that lower inflammation, help you regulate your blood sugar, and fight cancer by cutting off the blood supply. So chocolate, tea, tree nuts.
Now, with the chocolate, I'm very much a dark chocolate fan, and I do like the 70 to 80%. What's recommended there? Because
Yeah.
everyone's running to get like their Hershey's dark chocolate bar
Godiva,
right now.
yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to
Explain
actually
that.
get, yeah, so basically, chocolate's a confection, it's a candy. It's got a bunch of stuff in it. The darker the chocolate, the more the cacao. And cacao is the bean, the pod from the tree, it's a berry that actually contains the good stuff, the flavonols. The darker the chocolate, the more the cacao. And that's why we go for that high percentage.
Okay.
80% is really kind of like the best cutoff that I can give you.
Okay.
You get higher than that, it's pretty bitter.
Okay.
But I love 80% and above too.
I can do a full like 90 to 100%. I like the real bitter, but like
I like the bitter, like in like, well, I don't know if this is good, but like in frozen yogurt, or sometimes I'll put it in my like Greek yogurt.
Yeah, so yogurt is another great food that actually it's such a fermented food, and it contains bacteria, healthy bacteria that actually feed that microbiome as well. So chocolate,
Okay.
yogurt, these are all great combinations. And I always tell people, look for foods that you love that are good for you. So you just, Abigail, gave two, yogurt
I
and
know.
chocolate.
I'm like, well, shit, we're good.
Yeah. You're already on the right path.
Perfect.
just with the first couple of foods you have. And that's a key thing, is that like everybody's different, and
Sure.
everybody digs their own stuff, and like that's what I really think is really cool, is to find your own kind of magic mix.
So I am curious because you have a whole book with a plethora of foods that are so good for you and are great for your body. And we're starting to see, as we're navigating this year of 2020, we're starting to see the benefits of vitamin D and vitamin C with helping and building your immune system, especially right now with, COVID attacking the world. Are there any foods that we can eat that could help build our immune system to potentially protect us from either catching COVID or from having our body fight it better or more efficiently if we happen to test positive?
Great question. Gigantic question.
I know.
It's kind of $1 billion question. And you guys may not know this, but I actually became a COVID researcher back in the spring. So you're talking to somebody who actually knows quite a lot about this. So let's first talk about immunity. Our immune system is exquisitely sensitive to what we eat. And let's talk about the things that we can eat to actually build our immunity. Simple things like mushrooms. Even the lowly white button mushroom has been studied in people. So this is a clinical study to show that if you just eat like a cup and a third of white button mushrooms a day, you can increase your antibodies in your saliva and in your nose, like the mucus. That is the front gate. That's sort of like the guard dog for your immune system. And it just knocks out viruses and bacteria when they try to get into your body. Mushrooms, okay? Broccoli sprouts also up your game. They actually can not only increase your natural killer cells, part of your immune system is really like a whole group of an army of super soldiers. And every soldier is trained to do something different with a different type of weapon, and they all coordinate together. Broccoli sprouts kind of ramp up your immune soldiers and guard against
those
it.
Are the little ones, right? The little like bushy,
little bushy, tiny 3 to 4 day old sprouts. You can sprinkle them on a salad, put them in a sandwich, put them on pasta or something. It's really amazing. And by the way, they're easy to grow. You can actually grow them at home. So cool. and they don't taste like broccoli, adult broccoli. They taste kind of nutty. Like they're like plant-based foods or nutty. It's a great flavor. So that's two things you can do. We talked about nuts. Boost your immune system by feeding your microbiome. It ramps up your immunity. Here's one: pomegranate juice. Turns out that the juice. Turns out that the natural dye in pomegranate juice, which is something called an ellagitannin, actually feeds that dye helps your gut secrete mucus, and that mucus is something that a specific bacteria called Akkermansia muciniphila. So don't worry about memorizing. It's just called Akkermansia. It loves to grow in the mucus, so it's kind of like fertilizer in the soil for your garden. When that bacteria grows, it really protects your immune system. So it ramps it up so powerfully that Akkermansia has been shown in cancer patients. When you give them an immune therapy, if they got Akkermansia, it packs a 1-2 punch against cancer. It can actually help your cancer respond to immune therapy, just ramps you up. So that's just a few foods that I can point out that ramp up our immunity. Now, I will tell you what's really interesting is that there was a study that came out of Wuhan, China, that was done back in the the spring of 2020, studied 900 healthy people, and they followed them to figure out who was going to get COVID and who wasn't going to get COVID, who was going to get serious COVID and go into the hospital, and who was going to dodge that bullet. They looked in the bloodstream. They found people had a natural virus killer their body would make called interferon. Then they went and checked their poop to figure out what kind of bacteria they had, healthy bacteria. They found 2 bacteria, one called lactobacillus, one called ruminococcus, that was tied to the natural virus killer. Then they asked them, what did they eat? And it turns out seafood with omega-3 fatty acids, marine omega-3 fatty acids, and green and black tea and nuts, eating tree nuts, were associated with having more good bacteria, more natural virus killer, and the people with that wound up not getting COVID. So,
wow.
This is sort of like bleeding edge stuff.
So what about supplementation? Because we know, we hear these
I love
things.
Supplements.
I do love supplements, but we also hear how, our food system now is so depleted. The soil is so depleted. So we're not getting as much nutrients as we once were when we were cavemen and we were actually hunting this food back in the day, with all of the GMOs that have now penetrated our culture. The food just isn't as nutrient dense. Do you think that we could get all of the benefits of vitamins and the nutrients from just food, or do we need supplementation? And if so, what do you recommend?
Yeah, well, I can tell you, we know when you are, you can be undernourished and surrounded by food. Mm-hmm. So you could have food on your plate and then your table and have a doctor measure your blood and you're like deficient in vitamins. It's not just due to the way that our agriculture has changed. That's probably part of it, but it's also that people don't make enough good choices. If you have a good, diverse plant-based diet, you'll probably get most of those natural nutrients that you actually need. That said, we do know that people who are deficient in things like vitamin D during the pandemic, they're much more likely to get COVID and get sick. In fact, people with low vitamin D are actually even more likely to die from COVID. So that is one of the things in today's world, we definitely want to make sure we supplement. There's a lot of people who actually don't get enough vitamin D. What I think to most people is that, eat the most diverse plant-based diet you can. And I'm not a vegetarian. I'm not a vegan. I eat a lot of different things. I try to eat mostly plants and eat colorful things. You'll stock up on your vitamins, but you can take a multivitamin supplement to top yourself off. And that's always a good thing to do.
It's the whipped cream on top of a sundae. Yeah.
Vitamin D. Yeah. Good. Is there a food that you would be like, absolutely not? You would never, I'm sorry, it's my dog. That you would never recommend people having? Like, what's the worst food you could think of?
Well, look, our bodies are hardwired to protect our health. Mm-hmm. And that's what I write about in my book. We've got natural systems. It's kind of like software, Norton antivirus. It's all hardwired in our body. The system runs continuously to try to keep us healthy. And, the things that beat us down are our environment, our exposures, our lifestyle, and making poor dietary choices as well. So what you're sort of asking, I think, is, are there any gross offenders that really are just standouts? Okay.
Yeah.
And the reason I started
what are
out
the
by
Harvey Weinsteins of food?
Man.
Ooh,
okay.
We went there.
Yeah, you went there. So I will tell you that highly processed meat. Okay. Like those sausages that when you cut them open, they're not a color that occurs in nature. Kind of like something really weird and like that. We know that processed meat, like red meat's not that good for you. Processed meats are really bad for you.
Like deli meat.
And the way they process. Oh yeah, and deli meats as well. The things that a lot of us grew up on, right? Like that's kind of like I would call legacy foods from past generations. We now know, kind of going into the future, man, like we got to leave that stuff behind. We got to go more for fresh foods, more for local stuff. So I would say processed meats is not good. The other one that, is kind of a disappointment to some people is artificially sweetened soda. Soda itself, like a diet soda. Soda itself is not that good for you. It has a ton of sugar. associated with diabetes and obesity. Okay. Artificially sweetened soda, like the stuff with artificial sweeteners, unfortunately, we've now discovered that artificial sweeteners actually cause you to gain weight, which is like a weird thing, right? You think that less calories, no sugar,
Right.
I shouldn't be putting on. Turns out that those artificial sweeteners start wrecking the gut bacteria in your body. Like gut bacteria can have some sugar. Artificial sweeteners is just like putting like metal ball bearings down your gut. They can't eat them, and so they can't make the natural metabolism guiding substances that your gut bacteria does. So your blood sugar actually starts going crazy, and you actually gain weight. So ironically, you don't want to be wrecking your gut bacteria. It messes your immune system, messes up your metabolism. And there's actually been nothing good, beneficial ever found from an excessive consumption of diet sodas. Although, just like everything else, it's in moderation. If you have a soda every now and then, it's probably, you're gonna do what you're gonna do. You got a life for the living. But in general, I would say like processed meats, artificial sodas, and then any ultra processed foods. Those really sort of should be on the blacklist.
Does that apply also to like sugar-free or no sugar added like creamers, or
Yeah.
if you got like a latte or something like that, it
Yep.
would apply to that as well? Okay.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. A little. The body can handle a little sugar. A little sugar is actually good for us, important for us.
Sure.
Our body makes a little bit of sugar. So if you're going to actually sweeten something, use a natural sweetener like
Okay.
maple syrup or honey or something like that. No refined sugar, and artificial sugar is really, really not good for you.
Well,
Okay.
because it's all chemicals, right? And the way it
Right.
reacts in our body isn't the way sugar would normally react in our body.
And it destroys our gut bacteria. And that's the last thing on the planet you want to do. You want to keep that nice, healthy bacteria. I mean, it's basically like putting acid into your garden. It just like messes it up.
So are you a big proponent of probiotics and prebiotics? And should we be incorporating more of that into like our daily intake?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, so we talked about gut bacteria, and the fiber from plant-based food is a prebiotic, and you're actually feeding the gut bacteria, and if the gut bacteria is happy, we're probably happy. And if you're having kind of like, so many people walk around with irritable bowel or or just kind of belly discomfort. I mean, it's really unfortunate. A lot of people walking around, you don't see it, they don't talk about it all the time, but when they go home, they're suffering from it. And usually that's something going on that we call a dysbiosis, like your microbiome is messed up. And so you really want to be taking care of that. A probiotic, you can have probiotic foods like kimchi, like yogurt, like sauerkraut. Even sourdough bread is kind of a probiotic, or pumpernickel bread, also made with a bacteria. That's all probiotic, and I love sauerkraut as well. And so those are really good things to actually. Now you can actually get probiotic supplements, because we were talking about supplements before. And again, I think about them as topping off. Like if you eat plenty of stuff, it should be good for you. There's one bacteria that I've done research on that I'm a big believer in, and it's called lactobacillus, and the last one's called reuteri, reuteri. And this one bacteria is amazing because it's natural. It should be in our gut naturally. After the 1930s and 40s, when the antibiotics came out, it became kind of helter-skelter whether or not you had it in your gut. Moms used to give this bacteria to their babies through their breast milk. Now, remember, some people started to stop breastfeeding and they started to go to formula. And so you can kind of see the generational problems of not spreading the good stuff, right, with lactobacillus and killing it. Well, turns out in the research we've done, lactobacillus not only boosts your immune system, it suppresses cancer growth in your colon and in your breast. It makes your skin more richly, it makes your skin glow, actually, because it actually improves the circulation in your skin, even makes your hair shiny, and it fights cavities. And so like I will take a probiotic like that, because who wouldn't want to actually have good, the gut starts in the mouth. And so this is an example of a probiotic that you can actually help the front part of your gut.
I love that. So since Abigail and I are in Los Angeles and we're on camera very often, we care about anti-aging. That's a big thing, especially in the big cities that we're in. Are there any foods that or any practices that we can incorporate into our lifestyle to naturally help, like what is the natural Botox out there?
Well, here's the great irony. The way do you measure aging? It's not just wrinkles. Like that's the end game, right? So the wrinkle in your face, the destroyed hair, the sarcopenia, your muscles going down. That's the train wreck. That's the 20-car pileup that happens after lots of your cells get old and kind of come together and they just kind of crash. So the name of the game to stay young is slow down cellular aging. There's two ways we can do this. The first thing we can do is just to slow down the burn rate of our aging. So think about each cell is having a candle, and you know how the candle will burn down until it kind of goes out. Well, there's something in a genetic part called a telomere, and it burns down naturally. Faster it burns down, eating processed meats, eating junk food, it burns it down pretty fast. One thing that slows it down and even grows it back up is coffee. It turns out that drinking coffee, now that's not cream and it's not sugar in coffee,
Right.
but
I drink my coffee black.
Black coffee.
Me too. It actually slows down the burn and it actually lengthens it as well. And so that's actually a good thing. Actually, there's not a lot bad been found with drinking coffee. The other thing you could do to slow down cellular aging is to regenerate yourself from the inside out, because as your cells kind of go through wear and tear, our body replaces them, and they replace them by calling out stem cells. Dark chocolate actually will help to regenerate. They actually found, by the way, that there was a study of people, like 60-year-old people, so they're on their way towards aging with heart disease. That's another sign of aging. That they gave them dark chocolate, hot chocolate, and they gave them just 2 cups a day. So that's 8 fluid ounces times 2, and just sipped it. You doubled the number of stem cells in the bloodstream over 30 days, doubled your regeneration. And it improved your blood flow, which improves your skin, improves your brain. And so you can also just kind of regenerate yourself. And here's another little secret about regeneration. It turns out that fruit peel has a natural substance called ursolic acid. Again, all these chemical names, but this Mother Nature's pharmacy with an F, right? Not PH, but an F. Turns out that the best way to get fruit peel, you could eat an apple and have fruit peel, is to get dried fruit. Dried cranberries and blueberries and all those dried fruits. The skin's just dried on them. So you can actually get a ton of dried fruit peel just by having dried fruit.
I like it.
Wow.
And when you say coffee, though, I'm assuming you don't mean like drive-through McDonald's coffee.
I'm talking about the highest quality coffee you can find. And a good tip that you're bringing up really is that you want to have full test coffee. And I'll tell you why. When I'm talking about full test, I'm saying not decaffeinated, like full test. Reason is this. Most people don't know when you're decaffeinating coffee, the way that companies will decaffeinate it, they'll pass the beans through solvents, chemicals that will not only potentially leave residues in the coffee, but the same solvents that remove the caffeine take out all the good stuff as well. So, yeah, so you got to be careful about that.
Mm-hmm.
Full test coffee.
Okay.
Adding it to the list.
I know. I literally have a list. I am taking notes. So here's a question for you. A lot of people too, especially right now, don't either have the financial means or the ability to go get fresh fruits and vegetables every day. We have canned, we have frozen. What is there one better than the other, or both awful? What are the options there? I personally, I eat not canned. Oh my gosh. I eat frozen vegetables. I would say probably twice a week. Yeah. Is that horrible?
No, listen, I think it depends on the food you're talking about, produce you're talking about, right? So you're really talking about mostly produce. But I will tell you, so let me give you an example of where frozen is just as good as fresh. In terms of the good stuff, the polyphenols and the antioxidants and the health defense boosting. Mostly frozen vegetables like broccoli and peas and green beans and carrots, those things are flash frozen. And
Okay.
actually the flash freezing actually captures a lot of the good stuff and it just stays in there. So how you cook them though is really important. So if you actually boil the heck out of frozen vegetables, you'll actually destroy some of the good stuff. And so that's where, but that's true if you got fresh vegetables as well. So frozen produce, green produce and colorful produce, just as good. Fruits, get pineapple, you get blueberries, you get cherries, all that stuff is preserved, is saved, locked
Okay.
in frozen food.
Okay.
Cans, like everybody I've seen, a jar, let's say a jar of green beans, canned peas, those not very appetizing for most people. Less expensive, but I would tell you, if you're going to go for the can, know that you want to go for the food where the can actually doesn't matter. In fact, it might even be better. Great example is fresh tomatoes are good for you. Canned tomatoes are also good, but canned tomato sauce or jarred tomato sauce is usually fresh tomatoes that are cooked down. And when you cook a tomato, you concentrate and you activate the lycopene, which is Mother Nature's natural chemical that can help fight breast cancer and prostate cancer. So canned tomato sauce, jarred tomato sauce, get the best quality you can, is really good, just as good, maybe better than the fresh tomatoes. If you eat a tomato off a vine, you get lots of vitamins, but you don't get the lycopene.
Wow. So everyone out there who's going to go get canned green beans for your green bean casserole, think again for Thanksgiving.
Oh, listen, for Thanksgiving, I tell you, get frozen.
Yeah.
Okay. Defrost them. Take the time to defrost them. Don't throw them into boiling water. That's when you can overcook them really easy. So I like to cook. So I can tell you, take out your frozen.
I'm like, wow, we're getting nutrition and cooking.
Yeah. Listen, I spend a lot of time cooking. I love to cook. Almost anything you do, you can always find a way to try to lock as much of the health in as possible. For Thanksgiving, frozen, green beans and casserole, get them frozen, thaw them out at room temperature. Now you're basically back to even as if you got fresh. And then, if you're gonna cook them, blanch them, boil some water and just stick them in literally for 60 seconds, fish them out, cool them off. And then you can start. Now you're ready to start your casserole.
Yeah, because when you eat the vegetables and they're all mushy, that's when you know you've cooked all the vitamins out of them.
You've cooked all the vitamins out. Yeah, exactly.
So,
a little bite.
In addition to food, we talked about supplementation. Are there any other pieces of our lifestyle that you think we could use to really just stay healthy, reduce the effects of aging, and boost our immune system? What other key pieces do you think we should be incorporating?
Yeah, well, let's start with actually how our body actually keeps us in great shape. We have 5 health defense systems. You got your circulation, angiogenesis. You got your stem cells we talked about. You got your microbiome, which we've talked about. Our DNA, which is that, which is not only our genetic code, but it's got that life fuse, that candle we talked about. And our immunity, which is more important than ever before. These 5 things really are firing in all cylinders to protect us from the day we're born into our last breath. So everything good that we do keeps us healthier, and anything bad that we do kind of wears them down, right? It's like grinding your gears. So what are some other things besides eating healthy food? I included 200 healthy foods with a big choices to choose from, but other things that I can tell you that wear down our health defenses, that then gives us a clue what we can do to be healthier. If you don't get enough sleep, your immune system goes down. Our immune system is rebuilt at night. And if you sleep at a temperature that's too hot at night, actually it slows down the rebuilding of your immune system. So think about your immune system like your cell phone. You got to charge it up at night. Exactly the same thing of your immune system. So get good quality sleep.
Okay.
We all go through our periods where we're pulling all-nighters and partying and going out and stuff like that. It's going to happen no matter what every now and then. Just don't do it too often. Don't make it happen. It's sleep. Second, exercise. Keep that blood flowing. If your blood is flowing vigorously, think about it like a stream that's moving quickly or a river that's moving quickly. There's going to be healthy things going in it. You get a sluggish stream, that thing's going to be backed up. Your circulation is bad. And so when you exercise, you keep that blood moving, you get the stem cells going on, you actually protect your DNA, you slow down your cellular burn, you slow down cellular aging. Exercise, sleep, and then stress. High levels of stress. And by the way, during the pandemic, everybody's stressed out, right?
It's how do you manage that? Is there food for that too?
Yeah, well, listen, listen, you guys, we all have like smiles in our faces, right? But like, listen, inside, we're all kind of like going, because like of the world that's living, what's going on around us, and it's still
Yeah.
pretty uncertain, right?
Mhm.
So here's like, this is where meditation comes in. This is where yoga comes in. This is actually where hanging out with friends that we like, and doing things that make us laugh, are so helpful to kind of lower our stress levels. And I
Okay.
would say, Abigail, you asked about like, is there a magic food that can do it? It's not magic food, but there is something magic about food, which is that when you eat things that delight you and please you, like you should have seen your face when I said dark chocolate. All
I
right.
know.
I mean, if, if there's something that pleases you, go for it. Don't do it in excess, but
Sure.
do things that actually please you, and you will lower your stress as well.
Ugh, something that pleases me. I'm still looking for him, Dr. Lee. So you mentioned DNA a couple minutes ago, and I think one thing that I hear a lot that I would love to hear your opinion on is about people that are like, oh, I have diabetes in my family, or I have cancer in my family, so it's in my genes, it's in my DNA. There's nothing I can do about it. I'm just predisposed to be overweight, and that's just what it is. What is your response to that? Do our genes just dictate our unhealthy future?
It is true that our genes actually have a lot to do with what we're vulnerable for. But that's actually exactly the starting point to sort of say, how do we shore up our system so that we're not as vulnerable? Like nobody's a victim. You can actually step forward and take your life in your own hands. Like
Sure.
listen, if you live in the city, particularly in a rough part of the city, you can be vulnerable to inner city crime. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, but you're not just going to say, well, I'm going to get mugged. So whatever, I'm just going to, like take precautions, listen, you're all these things that, you love flowers, you got allergies, whatever, I've got allergies. I'm going to be stuffed up anyway. You can actually take an antihistamine. You can actually, put an air purifier. We can control ourselves. By the way, this is true for COVID too. Like people are like, I'm going to get it anyway. No, you wear a mask. You
Yeah.
can actually protect yourself. It's
Mhm.
it's easy. And so I think the same thing. We are born. We didn't decide our genetics. It was decided for us. So we got to go out there and actually take our lives into our own hands and make our own fate. So if you got some bad stuff in your genes or your family, hey, you know what? Now now you got a heads up of what you want to avoid. You can definitely take
Right.
steps, shore up your health defenses. You can boost your microbiome, decrease your chances of diabetes, exercise. There's so many things you can do. The great news is that we can actually dictate our own futures. We don't inherit our futures.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Your book is called Eat to Beat Disease, The New Science of How to Heal Your Body, of how your body can heal itself. Dr. Lee, where can people follow you and learn more about your book, your several books, and all of your teachings and your TED Talk? Where can we go and soak it all up?
Well, you can come to my website, which is www.drwilliamlee.com, drwilliamlee.com, or follow me on social. I'm at Dr. William Lee. And, I'm always putting out information that's new about food, things that we're discovering. And especially during these pandemic times, one of the things that's so easy for us to do is to make choices that we want to bring at home. I mean, look, every single one of us got to reacquaint ourselves with our pantry and our kitchen.
Yes.
And when you go out shopping these days, like you're not lounging and carousing in the aisles. Like we were out there on a mission, right? Going out there, picking up our stuff, bringing it back home. We're like squirrels, kind of like bringing it back into the tree.
Yeah, exactly.
So pick wisely, bring it home, cook it up. And what I'm doing is I'm actually just releasing information as I can see it that can help make everybody healthier during these crazy times.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. We really appreciate you calling in and chatting with us. Guys, if you want to keep up with Dr. Lee, definitely go get his book, Eat to Beat Disease. So many foods in there that you're going to want to stock up on. And if you want to keep up with me, you can follow me at Just Plain Zack.
And if you want to keep up with me, I know y'all do, you can follow me at Abigail _AF.
And don't forget to follow at The Adulting Podcast for all of the latest show news. Follow us at theadultingpodcast.com, where you can watch the show and find out all of the platforms that we're available on: iTunes, Spotify, Roku. We're everywhere. So be sure to follow us and give us a 5-star review, because we love that validation.
Please.
All right, guys, until next time, we'll be busy.
#adulting.